This is Thor introducing episode 4 of the Pure Pazaak podcast, where we are going to discuss clone rights and such civil liberties as
Clone
things like
rights?
that. I'm going to move it over to Vatred on the right.
Okay, well, clone rights are certainly an issue to get into as we're finding out a little bit about that in, I guess, Bad Batch in that post-Order 66 era. And I guess clone rights wouldn't necessarily be a good place to start. We kind of realize at this point they're starting to get phased out more or less, especially since, Tarkin's now taking control of the Imperial military and looking to cut costs with the Kaminoans. Shit, where was I going to go here?
Introduce yourself. That's all we're doing right now.
Oh. It just got thrown off to me, and I thought we were going to just jump right into it. Anyway.
It's okay.
Well, I'm UncleVatred. Thanks for coming out, everybody. Our Twitch channel's in the link down below if you want to check me out over there, and I'll kick it over to Stark.
Yeah. I'm Starknado. I'm a variety streamer on Twitch. A lot of Mass Effect, Halo, Metal Gear, and Star Wars games. I've been a long-time Star Wars fan since I was a child. I watched the special editions when I was 3 years old with my brother. I've been a long-time collector and fanboy ever since.
And I'm Vulcanator, and I hate Star Wars.
It's true.
I also stream a lot of Star Wars games, stream a lot of KOTOR, bitch about it a lot, drink a lot, and bitch about it more because I'm drinking. I also play lots of other RPGs, Elder Scrolls, Mass Effect, Dragon Age. If it came out between the years 2003 and 2011, I've most likely played it.
Drinking and bitching is what we're here to do, so he's going to fit right in.
Indeed. So yeah, this is the Pure Pazaak podcast, and so we are going to talk about the Bad Batch now, and I'm very bad with transitions. Speaking of bad, how'd you like the Bad Batch?
I mean, I think it's all right.
Bad.
You thought it was bad?
Oh, I was just joking about that.
Oh,
That's right.
yeah. I mean, okay, so last time we talked about the Bad Batch, 3 of us hadn't seen it. One of us was AFK for half of that conversation. So...
It's me.
No, it was actually Vatred. That was before your mic broke.
Never mind that.
That might have been after
Okay,
I
cool.
left.
Sorry, I'm the one who knows all this because I edited it all together and cut it and stuff, and I've watched it 80
It has been like
times.
3 weeks, so...
It's been a minute. So... Yeah, so basically, yeah, none of us had seen it yet, although the first episode had been out on May the 4th. It came out on May the 4th, and we recorded on May the 4th. So, yeah. Now, all of us have seen it up through episode 4, right? I guess I should...
Indeed.
I'm
Prob-
all caught up.
Cool. So, I guess we'll, we did just go around the circle, but I guess we'll go around again.
Did you
And-
catch that?
Did I catch what?
Episode 3 for me.
Oh, you haven't seen the last one?
I guess I'm an episode
Ah.
behind.
Oh, you're one behind. Okay.
Okay. Alright, well. So either way, I guess we'll just leave our first impressions of it without giving away any spoilers to episode 4. Shame on you, Thor. So, yeah, okay. I guess I'll go first with that since I went last on the intros. I was very pleasantly surprised with it so far. I am very pleasantly surprised with it. I thought it was going to be completely mediocre. Like, I didn't really care for the Bad Batch as characters. I've never, like, been super on board with the Filoni properties or the Filoniverse, the different animated shows and stuff like that. Especially in the early seasons. I could not stand Rebels' first season. I could not stand most of the early, like, 3 to 4 seasons of Clone Wars. So I've been very pleasantly surprised. It's been great. It's been getting better every time. I don't think I have a single character I dislike. Yeah, I've been really liking it so far.
Right on. So I definitely understand a lot of the criticisms that come with the early Filoni verse. I'm actually rewatching through Clone Wars right now, and it's just went to a screeching crawl because I'm right around the Mortis arc, and I'm just kind of like meh on it. But I know it's going to be worthwhile on the back end. But I feel like given time to run with the property and his shows to grow with audiences, he's really found his footing with the Bad Batch. And pleasant surprise, I think, is an accurate assessment. I think it's very good. It's in that same kind of darker atmosphere of the new Clone Wars season. And the Bad Batch's characters, although I kind of am unsure about them going with like another datification trope with how they're going to develop these characters by having them take care of a child and all of this stuff. But I'm still invested enough to see it out till its end because I feel like there's going to be more there to it.
Cool. Thor?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I quite enjoyed it. It wasn't what I was expecting, but it also wasn't the bad side of what I was expecting. Like, I was expecting it to be rather mundane, boring, sort of predictable. I mean, it wasn't explicitly unpredictable, but it was relatively enjoyable. I don't know what to make of this female clone. It's a bit odd that they've got a female clone, but I'm sure they'll find an interesting reason for all of that.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about Omega a lot in a second, but
I enjoyed
Rebels and Omega.
Oh yeah, Omega. God, fucking that Kiwi
Omega.
accent that whole time. Yeah. Stark, what about you?
So,
Hello?
I'm going to piggyback off
Oh.
of what others have said. I do think, so to piggyback off of what everybody else has said, what I think we're currently into with the Bad Batch is so far, looking at the first 3 or 4 episodes, depending on where you're at, best piece of animated Star Wars media we've had in a long time. It's kind of how I feel about Star Trek. First season of every Star Trek kind of fucking chugs dick. It's kind of bad. First season of every Star Wars animated
Not wrong.
series, barring the Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars, sucks. Like, it's boring. Rebels pick up until like season fucking 4. There's
Yeah.
some really good early Clone Wars episodes, but almost none of them are in season 1, other than like
It's like the
where
Plo
the
Koon
Proto
stuff.
Death Star flagship that Grievous had was okay.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the first 4 fucking episodes.
And that was the Plo Koon. That was the Plo Koon arc, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've taken these extremely tropey characters. You've taken very cut by numbers, fill in the lines characters. You've taken Rambo, Clint Eastwood, the Hulk, and Sir Fix-a-Lot. You've made it into a coherent, fucking interesting group of characters. Like, I'm actually excited to see what's going to happen in the future because they're very generic characters in a very generic setting, but it like Vatred said, it's a very darker turn for the story. See very often. There's a couple episodes in Rebels. The clones live in the post-Empire world. They're hiding out in AT-AT out in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. They don't like the Empire. They don't have their chips in. So there's a lot of ways the story could go. Like, are they gonna fuck up their boy? Are they gonna get caught? It's a long ways to go with it from here.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess that's that's the thing too. Like they took an incredibly tropey, weird. It's kind of like what I was getting at earlier too. Is like they took an incredibly tropey, weird, like gimmicky characters that I didn't like, that just really didn't seem to have any depth. It's just like, okay, let's just make the Expendables in Star Wars or something. And it's like, okay, I mean, sure, if you really like that sort of stuff, but like they made them good characters. They made them like interesting characters with personalities and faults and conflicts. And like I love it. Like the dynamic is great. Omega is great. She's one of the first non-incredibly annoying child characters in all of Star Wars. And yeah, I'm honestly just blown away on how good it is. Like, Omega's fucking adorable, but also not annoying. And also, like, a good character, too. Like I mean, the times that she's a needy kid is the times where it's appropriate to be a needy kid.
Right.
It's like, okay, the Bad Batch is gonna abandon me with his family. No, puppy, no, Hunter, please, you know, like...
Right.
Also, fucking... Go ahead.
Let's say they're probably... There's a little bit of paint by numbers in it, where it's... Okay, this is the most important thing in the Clone Wars, is we have this relatable child. As Vatred said, the most important thing in The Mandalorian is there's this Force dad role from some warmonger. And here we are again, a year later, seeing kind of the same thing happen. You have to learn to be a dad with a blaster in their hand. And it's a little bit different because they're not selling toys of the kid, they're selling toys of everybody else.
Yeah.
But
I
don't want to go too long at a turn.
That's the thing I like, too, is that it's... Yeah, like, Omega doesn't feel like a toy commercial. Because Baby Yoda, he was cute, and he wasn't, like, really annoying. Maybe that's... Maybe Thor might disagree with me, but it was... I didn't think he was, like, really annoying or anything. But he was very clearly a toy commercial. Like, he was...
Oh, yeah.
They wanted to sell Beanie Babies of him. God, maybe that shows my age. They wanted to sell, like, the stuffed animals of him, you know? Stuffed plushes and things like that. Things people could cuddle with, you know? But, you were saying, Vatred?
Yeah, and I guess the only other thing I'll add about Bad Batch is it's followed the suit of a lot of the recent new Star Wars media, and it's stories that take place really away from the spiritual end of Star Wars that doesn't really involve any Force-related conflicts, Jedi, Sith, and any of that. And it's turned out to really churn out some really solid stories and proper characters and scenes that can keep audiences enticed without all that, I don't know, I guess, stimulation and kind of stuff you saw in the prequel era.
I have to agree. It's been good to see a departure from that. I especially, well, as you know, enjoy Republic Commando, which is one of the few departures from that they've ever done, early on anyway, that I'd know of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I totally agree. I love seeing the, like, I do like talking a lot, and I do like the high and mighty, you know, Force warriors and
absolutely,
Uber Jedi and Sith epic clashes and combat and stuff. But like the nitty gritty stuff and the down to earth stuff is really cool too, and it's really great for like building a coherent galaxy.
It makes that galaxy feel bigger. Because the Clone Wars was really a time where there were 10,000 Jedi in a galaxy of how many?
Oh yeah, trillions.
Shit about.
Yeah. Coruscant had a population, I think, of 1 trillion. Just because, like...
It's one of my favorite things about, like, Star Wars galaxies. It's not really it's far from it's a tangent from the Batch, but, you know, I mean, you're some random schmuck. You're not a Jedi. You're not some all-powerful being, chosen one, doing some crazy shit out there with the Skywalker lineage. Like, you're just some random dude, and that game was amazing. How small it made you feel in the whole scale of things.
And when a Jedi did show up in Star Wars Galaxies, that was crazy. You were like, holy shit. If you were fighting that Jedi, you were fucked. You were mega fucked.
And that was the same kind of energy that I felt Mando Season 1 captured. That Bad Batch kind of back to a little bit. Like here are the ones that got swept under the rug when there's intergalactic war between powerful wizards that control the galaxy and there's only 40 fucking people who fucking matter.
Yeah.
Here's just some soldiers who came back home and things were different, and now they can't. They don't want to follow the war crimes their superiors make them commit. Like it's kind of a historically relatable story, although it is a darker tint the post Clone Wars era you usually don't see.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's another thing too, is I feel like that's an era that, like, it's weirdly enough, it's been Disney Canon's been doing a lot to bridge the gap between episodes 3 and 4. But it still weirdly feels like super undone, because I think the EU didn't touch it that much. The old
No,
EU
like,
didn't touch it that much.
Outside of like the Dark Times comics, I don't feel like there's a lot of media around it.
There's like, I mean, there's the Rebellion comics, and then there's the Empire comics. I know that, but like those are, I think the Empire comics, the EU Empire comics, not the new ones. The EU Empire comics, I think they started like well into that time period, like, and they go on through the movies too.
What was the one that dealt with Plo Koon's apprentice finding Vader? There was like a hidden cell, like post 66. There was like 3 Jedis and like a rebel cell, and the 3 Jedis were leading it. One of them was Plo Koon's apprentices. Like Vader shows up, kills them all, and the last thing that like Plo Koon's apprentice does is try to like set off a bomb on them.
I don't think I ever read. I don't think I ever read that comic.
It was really good.
I don't think I ever read
It's really the
that.
only one that pops into my mind.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was actually super cool. I'll try to look into it whenever I'm not tapping at the mouth.
Yeah, I don't think I ever read that, but yeah, like, just thinking about it, because like, even like media and stuff, because I guess there was the Star Wars Battlefront 2 campaign, but even that was like, that was like maybe 3 episodes, and then you're already in, or 3 missions, and you're already in episode 4, like you're already attacking Tantive 4 and stuff.
Right.
And because you had like the clone revolts on Kamino, which is topical for the Bad Batch, because a lot of people seem to be thinking that's where the plot's gonna go. That's the whole purpose of Omega. But yeah, like, it just feels like it feels like an underdone era. But like, Disney has produced a lot of stuff that happens during there. Because I mean, like, in the earlier end, we have Fallen Order, we have the Vader comics, we have Rebels in the latter end, and then obviously we have Rogue One and Solo. So like, there's a lot of different stuff that happened in that time, in Disney canon at least. But it still doesn't feel like overdone, doesn't feel oversaturated. Like, to me, the Clone Wars time period felt oversaturated as fuck.
It really did.
And
all
so
the games and books and
yeah. And so did the post Jedi stuff. Man, is my headset already dying? God damn it. All right. Well, what do we think about? So I guess what do we think about Omega then?
Well, I mean, I like Omega. I think she's great. Obviously, first non-annoying kid in Star Wars. But there's the big anonymity around whatever like the special ability via her genetic mutation is. And of course, the Kaminoans seem very guarded on what that is, and a lot of people are automatically pointing to it being the Force. I've heard theories that it could be she has some amalgamation of all the abilities of the Bad Batch, considering she like never held a blaster before and shot Crosshair's trigger finger or whatever. So, they've maybe hinted in that direction. But I don't know, it's interesting, but I think that's going to definitely be the big Kickstarter for what happens at the end of this season going into season 2. I don't know how big of a run it's going to have, but there's definitely, I don't know, she's, I guess, would be kind of like the center of all the conflict is going to be around.
I'd have presumed intellect, given that she was like a helper to one of the Kaminoans.
Yeah.
Being her spec.
Well, she also has this weird, like, intimate knowledge of the inhibitor chips. That's the other weird thing too. But and she was the assistant to I don't remember. No, Lama Su's
Tanwi.
No, it's neither of those.
Was it not Tanwi?
Tanwi's the like greeter that greets Obi-Wan. on
Tanwi Lamasu.
Lamasu's the
Not
prime
the
minister.
prime minister whose name.
No, Lamasu's the prime minister. Yeah. I don't know. I don't remember her
I'm trying
name.
to remember it so hard after episode 2. I knew I wasn't going to.
Well, the scientist wasn't in episode 2. She was introduced in Clone Wars. The only named Kaminoans are Tanwi and Lamasu in episode 2, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I meant episode 2, the Bad Batch. She's the one that's holding the... Is that at the end of episode 1, I guess, where she was holding the garage door open for the Bad Batch to escape?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I thought you were talking about Attack of the Clones, not episode 2 of the Bad Batch.
Episode 2 of the Bad Batch.
Sorry.
Not episode 2 of Attack of the Clones.
Well, because Tanwi and Lamasu are in Attack of the Clones. Whatever.
Right.
Yes, yeah, you're right. That is who that was. I
just can't remember her name.
I can't either. Well, because there's her, and then in Clone Wars, there's also the senator from Kamino who's also named, and I don't remember their name. But whatever. Either way, yeah, like she's got this weird kind of intimate knowledge of the inhibitor chips, and it's almost like kind of just matter of fact statements. Like whenever Hunter and Wrecker and see, I know their names now. Like I didn't know their names before because I didn't give a shit about them. But now I know their names because they're actually interesting characters. But yeah, when they're all talking and like talking about the inhibitor chips, Omega's like, "Oh yeah, no, it works like this," and you're just like,
"Right?
Aren't you a 7-year-old or something?"
Right. Know what you're going to do.
How old do you think Omega is actually? Well, I guess she's probably like 3, like in clone years.
Yeah.
But I don't know. She looks like around like young Anakin, like episode 1 Anakin age. I don't know, maybe 10.
I would say like
maybe around like Boba Fett's
10.
age in Attack of the Clones.
Yeah,
exactly.
Something I did like is that
prodigal 9-year-old that we've seen 5 fucking times now.
Yeah,
Right.
something I do like is that Omega's Kiwi accent is like a million times better than D. Bradley Baker's.
Yeah.
you can hear it.
DBB.
Lee Bradley Baker's feels just more Australian than anything.
I don't think he sounds even Australian. He just sounds like a really cool yes, Commander. I don't know. He almost sounds just like kind of American.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Kind of feel that.
Do you guys agree with me that Omega is the best written child character in Star Wars so far? Only in season 4.
Clearly, you weren't watching when we watched Caravan of Courage.
Yeah, we've recently watched both of the Ewoks movies, and
Clearly,
it's not Sindel.
Clearly,
that's
it's
for
Sindel.
fucking sure.
It's definitely Sindel.
It's not Anakin in Phantom Menace.
Definitely
it's not
Boba Fett.
It's not season 1 Ahsoka.
It's not Boba Fett. Episode 2 Boba Fett.
Boba Fett.
Written, so
Yeah.
you said best written, so at that point you have to have read every piece of media there is in order to judge, determine, and qualify
I
it
read a
as
fair fucking chunk. I've read the shitty Scholastic books where it was like Anakin and his friends escaping Gardula the Hutt.
I read the young adult.
Dressed as Jawas, pretending to be Jawas so they could break away, and they were all really fucking annoying the whole time.
I read the young adult Boba Fett series. Yeah.
Only thing that young Boba Fett was good in was the season 4 episode of the Clone Wars where he was hunting after Mace Windu, disguising himself as a clone cadet.
Yeah.
Other than that, he's kind of fucking trash. Even the one with the bounty hunter amalgamation crew he puts together.
Mm-hmm. Which was like, if you think about it,
better example. Of
if you think about it, that was like a weirdly.
I like Rebels, and I'm not one to judge. Like, I don't qualify something as a best. I'm really picky like that. I don't like bests or favorites.
Really good. You know.
Fair.
If you just want to say she was really good. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
But
one that you know of.
I'm not like that, and I hard agree. Omega is fantastic. Like, I don't know. I basically already said like the reasons why, but like, you know, she's a soppy kid when she has to be a soppy kid, and she's like a interesting character when she has to be interesting, and she's actually important to the plot, unlike a lot of child characters.
Exactly.
And
in that cockpit.
Yeah. Well, that's like the only thing that is important to the plot with him is staying in the cockpit so he can blow up the droid ship.
Not staying in the cockpit.
But yeah, I don't know. I have seen.
We'll say, I guess.
Go ahead.
Reflect on the potential genetic ability that she has. She is incredibly smart, and she had to echo Vatred. I do see the theory that she is some sort of, I guess, perfect clone, some sort of
Right.
amalgamation of all the Bad Batch's skills, because she is incredibly intelligent when we meet her. She is the head scientist's aide at 9 years old. She outsnipes and surprises Crosshair. She learns in about 2 minutes how to track just by seeing Hunter do it once or twice. She's not showing extreme physical skill or anything, but everything else she's kind of copying it.
Right.
Yeah, mind you, she learned what dirt was like 2 days before.
Right. 30 minutes after learning what dirt. Oh yeah, I can taste them. Taste them in the dirt.
I don't know. Well, because like,
Or it might be.
yeah, that's true. Like the fact she's learning so much, despite being sheltered her whole life, to again, literally not know what dirt is. It's like, it's pretty crazy the things she's been able to accomplish. And yeah, so I could totally see that. I haven't. Go ahead.
Which might actually be the thing, like rapid knowledge absorption, be the thing, because this is a very, very, very minor line from the first 60 seconds of episode 4, so I'm not spoiling anything. She is eager to explore. Like when the clones in the first 60 seconds say, "We're gonna hide out over here."
Oh right.
He says, "But I've been on Camino all my life. I want to go find something. I want to go explore. Why can't we go fucking do something we haven't done yet?" That might be kind of tied into it. Like she might just have like rapid learning, like something. Like she's learning from Hunter super fast. She's learning from Tech in the next episode. Learning about her environment every episode. That'd be a small part of it. But I've gone on too long. Please, somebody else.
I don't know. I mean, you basically said it. I mean, well, so let's talk about something else then. So there's a lot of weird predictions about where the Bad Batch is going and what's going to happen, right? And like, obviously, a lot of them have to do with whatever the fuck Omega is, or what she can do,
Right.
like what her power is, if you want to view it like that. So like. Both, do you guys have any theories, and have you heard any theories that you agree with, or what are some crazy theories that you don't agree with at all? Like,
I think most of the Omega theories are hot garbage, especially the Palpatine ones.
yeah.
I feel like a lot of fans are clutching at straws to try to make connections to the rise of Skywalker.
Yep.
She's not a Palpatine clone. It's pretty obvious when her name's Omega, implying she's like the last Jango Fett clone.
Yeah, Omega. Yeah, so
Right,
Omega is literally the last letter of the Greek alphabet.
The only
in case you
theory
didn't
related
know.
to Bad Batch that's accurate, because there's a lot of shit pointing to it, is I think Crosshair is going to be like a prototype for the Death Troopers that you see like in Rogue One,
Yeah.
always escorting Tarkin and people related
Yep.
to his projects. Like that one seems pretty dead on, but most of the Omega ones, unless there's some I haven't heard, but all the Palpatine ones I can confirm are hot garbage.
Yeah, well, there's that, and there's also there's the Palpatine one. There's the one that she's literally a clone of Palpatine, and then there's the ones that like, yeah, she's Rey's mom, or something, you know.
Yeah. Now.
Which
those
like the
ones-
timeline kind of fits.
Exist.
If she didn't have if she didn't have advanced aging, the timeline would kind of fit. You know, like if Omega was just aged normally.
So Rey's like what, 19 in The Force Awakens, which is 30 years after Jedi, and how far is Jedi from Bad Batch?
Jedi is Bad Batch is literally right after Episode 3, so we're still
Yeah,
19. It's still
it's-
19
I think,
BBY.
like- Okay, yeah.
19 BBY. Empire is 3 ABY, I think, and Jedi is 4 ABY. So we're talking 23 years, and then 30, so 53 years. Omega's like, if Omega didn't have advanced aging, I'd give her like maybe
I mean, she would have given
make her
birth
like
to
9
Rey
or
about
10.
11 years after Jedi. Then
That's so fucked.
Yeah, it's
19
so
in Force
dumb.
Awakens.
Yeah.
When I did the math on it, I'm thinking she knows she's too old.
Shit.
like it kind of fits. Maybe if you like a stretch, but like again, Omega would have to not have advanced aging because she would be well past menopause. If she did have advanced aging, like the other clones do, and I don't know, it's just such a stretch, and I fucking hate the whole dynasty bullshit. Like I would just, I just really
Something
would
I
not
kind
like
of wanted
that.
to talk about.
God, I
with
would hate
episode
that.
4 on the line, but I don't want to talk about anything in front of Thor. Too much
Oh, yeah.
dynasty things, but kind of
I don't think
modulation of
I
the.
mean, if you were to keep it to like I don't know, like topics or keywords, I
Or
could
the next
try
episode.
and bone out.
Well,
or
okay, so-
105.
I mean, this might be, I don't know, this might be insensitive to spoilers or not, but like there wasn't that much spoilerage in episode 4.
No, I feel like it was
No,
just
no.
kind of
Not for the overall, not for the
I
overall
don't-
plot.
To be honest, if I hadn't seen
Really?
2 of, I don't think you could have dropped match that I would have like been like. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well that's the
Yeah,
thing. There
yeah.
hasn't been any big plot twists or
Very
anything yet.
introductory.
Nothing has happened since goddamn season 2. Honestly,
It's just like, I mean,
episode 2.
you probably already know this, Thor, but like there's people after Omega and the Bad Batch.
Right.
So
Yeah, I mean anyone gets
Without
that.
naming names.
yeah, without naming names, there's people after
Without
them.
naming names.
But yeah,
The off series, the off Disney series have done really good. We had our 1 season of some shitty animated show that nobody watched except for 9-year-old children, Force and Destiny, starring main characters of the trilogy. Nothing else has been about them. We haven't seen Kylo. We haven't seen Rey. We haven't seen Finn or Poe. Anybody else. We haven't seen Maz. We haven't gotten a weird,
well, wouldn't they all?
shitty modal BioWare story about how Maz actually got the lightsaber. Whatever. Who cares? We've moved on to brand new characters. Mandalorian and in the Bad Batch. Tiny side note is that I don't think anybody can name a brand new character introduced in The Mandalorian Season 2. Name. Actual name of a Season 2 character
There's Cobb
introduced.
Vance or whatever, the Marshal.
Oh, yeah,
probably
that's
fucked
true.
up his
Okay,
name.
okay.
That's
fair,
actually
fair.
true. Yeah,
Who
it's
shows
Cobb
up for that
Vanth.
one episode. You're right, and then isn't relevant
But
ever
that was
again.
like the first episode. It's the
dude.
only thing I remember.
Right. The Cara Dune showed up in season 1. Eve Karga, season 1. Grogu retroactively, season 1.
Was Bill Burr in season 1?
Mayfeld,
Yeah, Bill
Season
Burr
one.
was in season.
Okay, I didn't
Space
remember.
costume and such.
yep, Bill Burr, season 1. The dude from the holiday special, the blue skin, season 1. Gideon, season 1.
Yeah, the
I'm
Nick
kind
Nolte character.
uh,
but
Luke
that's all
Luke
it is.
Skywalker. He wasn't in
Um,
season 1.
yeah,
Bo-Katan, Clone Wars. Ahsoka, Clone Wars. Problem is, we finally, because we were talking about this a moment ago.
The
so it's
CGI
kind of
blob
bugging
Luke.
me now. We've moved away from that. It's the interesting characters that are brand new for this media. These are new characters. Prepare to see them in every fucking piece of media until the end of time.
I mean, that's how
Like-
Filoni works. He's been doing that forever. He's been doing that with
Exactly,
all of
and
his new
like,
Luke is
characters.
his baby, and he's gonna put her in as much shit as he can.
I know. Yeah.
Exactly.
It does drive me. It
It's so
drives me
good
insane.
in
Yeah.
Season 1. Here we are in the Bad Batch, episode 4.
Yeah. Well, apparently,
I was kind of worried it's going to be. I
mean,
can't wait for
apparently,
episode 5. They meet young Luke Skywalker and Ahsoka and Darth Maul. And
Luke
They'll go fight
Skywalker.
Emperor
Luke
Palpatine.
Skywalker as
So
a.
there's already some
as a
Crimson
3-month-old
Dawn theories that
infant.
might tie Maul
Yeah,
into
yeah.
it. So.
Well, there's that, and there's
Right.
also. I mean, like we've already met. I mean, even in episode 2 or 3. We've already met the clone, the deserter from Clone Wars.
Well, he's from OG Clone Wars. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, like it's that same whole like reusing characters trope.
Saw Gerrera.
Saw Gerrera. Yeah. God, he's in everything too.
I still hate Saw
Yeah.
Gerrera. I still absolutely.
I want to
hate
like him.
everything
I want
from
to
his
like him.
second episode appearance.
He's clearly just supposed to be Che Guevara. I want to
wasn't-
like him. I want to like him, but he's just tied into everything, and they really just try and make him seem like, oh yeah, no, you're using actual violence against the Empire? That's too far, Saw. Like,
But at least in Bad
Around
Batch, they
short.
kind of show him getting fucked over and like Imperial death squads wiping out like children and
I
shit.
didn't really
in
like
that
his
third
reasoning.
episode to kind of, at least explain why Saw became radicalized, I guess.
I didn't really like his reasoning in that
Yeah.
episode, though. Like, I get why, but at the same time, like, he doesn't even know anything about the Empire yet, and he's like, we're not gonna bow down to an Empire. It's like,
It's been like
it's been like
30
10...
minutes.
Yeah.
Fucking chill.
It's like, just because it's called an Empire, like...
Yeah.
I mean, when was the last time an Empire actually existed in the Star Wars universe up until the Galactic Empire? Is it the Sith Empire from Darth Bane? Like, the Darth Bane
I would
era?
say it would be like maybe Rusan for real.
I can't
It
think
would
of
have
any
been
other...
Bane.
I can't think of
Before
any
that,
empires.
What, the Rakatans?
Well,
Yes, the Infinite Empire.
well, I can't think of any empires other than the Sith Empire from that time period. Because I guess technically there could be the Empire of the Hand out there in unknown regions, but like that's a stretch to think that existed any time before. Because technically Thrawn, and now we're talking EU here, by the way, but I mean technically Thrawn was already out there building his Empire of the Hand, like during the Clone Wars. That's why Thrawn was just gone for the entire Clone Wars. But yeah, like it's a stretch. So like, he's just like, we're not gonna bow down to an empire. It's like, dude, do you even know what an empire is? Like, when's the last time we seen an empire? And I don't know. That's just, it's weird semantic shit. Like, it's just it's supposed to be like our modern understanding of empire equals bad, which like I agree, empire equals bad, but like from the framing of like the Star Wars galaxy, I don't know if everyone would exactly know that. Especially
when you look at
he's from fucking
Saw
Onderon.
Gerrera.
Onderon's in fucking absolute monarchy. Like,
Right.
like, I don't know.
You look at Saw Gerrera's arc in the Clone Wars, and while yes, he's Che Guevara, yes, empires are bad, and this should be a clear cut. Yes, one person is good, one person is bad. It just doesn't make sense with the arc that he had in Clone Wars. It's like Jedi came in and taught them how to do guerrilla warfare in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Sister died in the process. He was like, oh, okay, I won't do crazy civilian risking tactics anymore. We're in charge now. I'm no longer in charge. And then it's just full on.
And then you show him.
Everybody go after the stormtroopers with forks.
And then he
fucking kill them.
And then he shows up in Rebels. And then he shows up in Rebels and wants to like genocide whole races to save other races. It's like, dude, what?
And I fucking hate him in Rogue One, and I don't like him in Fallen Order either.
Oh yeah, where he uses a
Same
hentai
reason.
monster. Where he uses a hentai monster to fucking mind control someone.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like, what the fuck, dude?
Sent you here. Kill me.
Lies, deception. Oh, got it.
Oh man.
God damn it.
How do you go from like my sister died in a terrorist, or my sister died in a guerrilla attack against my oppressors? She told me that this was wrong. You know, whether or not it was,
You did that too well,
I
Matron. I'm
have
sorry.
sworn off this sort of attack. Time to
Right.
be banned from the rebellion for how guerrilla and terrorist my attacks are.
For how- yeah, for how effective my methods are.
Like, a little over a decade.
Right.
Oh, got it. God. Okay, well, that's enough Bad Batch. We've probably gone over on already.
Yeah, I think I've covered everything that I really picked up from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I wanted to like point out was the quip about Omega's Kiwi accent being like 10 times better than D. Bradley Baker's, but not that I think not that I think D. Bradley Baker's a bad actor or anything. He's not, but
Oh, yeah.
yeah, the accent needs work if you really want to sound like Tamara Morrison. That was actually one of my biggest problems with the Clone Wars originally. Is like the clones don't sound anything like Tamara Morrison.
No, not
Right.
But that was
Kind
also
of
that was
one of
also
those
true of
places
03
right
Clone
at the
Wars.
same
03 Clone Wars.
So we'll play Battlefront 2 and Bounty Hunter after this.
03 Clone Wars clone troopers sounded like stormtroopers. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything at all.
So moving on. Dave Filoni was promoted 6 months ago, and apparently it's news.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're making.
Dredge up every point I made in your chat 5.5 months ago.
So, yeah, so you have to approach this weird because, like, this is supposed to be about. This is not supposed to be about the whole stupid bullshit like internal war at Lucasfilm between Kathleen Kennedy and Dave Filoni, you know, because it doesn't exist. But this is mostly about how just incredibly stupid and sensationalist Star Wars, like, media, I guess, for want of a better term. I mean, like, hey, sorry, I got a droid in my chat. No droids. That's what happens when I get a bot in my chat. For those of you watching on YouTube. But yeah, that made me lose my train of thought. But yeah, it's mostly just how like dumb and sensational Star Wars reporting in media has gotten, like, especially in the last, like, basically ever since the sequels started.
All media, though.
Right.
Right.
But I mean, I feel like it's just getting worse and worse now. Like anything, we talked about this a little bit last time with like the whole KOTOR 3 confirmed bullshit. But like, it's just anytime something happens at all, Dave Filoni fucking eats a ham sandwich for lunch, and he's taken over Lucasfilm from Kathleen Kennedy. Oh no!
Challenge cancel culture.
Feminazis being booted out. Cancel culture's been revoked. Jesus Christ! Like, come on, guys, just use your heads. Ugh. I don't know. What do you guys think? Like,
Well, it's pretty easy to put together when you look at like the structure of Lucasfilm, and of course, in no way, shape, or form does Dave Filoni getting promoted mean anything's going to happen. And the one thing everybody misses is Kathleen Kennedy was never in creative control of anything. She's just mainly an exec.
yeah,
A producer, and if you look at her track record, is produced and put her money into a lot of good films. I mean, like E.T. and shit. Like, the track record's good, and this is the person
She was
like
producer
George
for-
handpicked, basically, to run this.
she was
shit.
producer for most of Steven Spielberg's blockbusters, like Jurassic Park, and that's the only one I can think of right now. I know she produced Jurassic Park. But yeah, E.T. Well, I guess E.T. too. That was also Spielberg, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
Gonna
And
be chatting
she's-
online.
Been very liberal with giving Filoni more opportunities to start shooting in live action with The Mandalorian, and Ryan Johnson, the other guy that most of the fan base hates so much, actually showed Filoni a lot about shooting in live action, and has
Yeah.
led to a lot of the success we've seen with The Mandalorian, and then all, of course, the new shows that are going to get launched throughout the year, because I think by the time 2021's over, we're going to get Book of Boba Fett starting up. Potentially, I think 2022, another Mandalorian, if not late 2021. I'm not sure how the release is going on
Obi-Wan's
that.
coming soon.
But I guess at the end of the day, Star Wars fans should be grateful. At least we're in a time where we're getting this much Star Wars content, because I don't believe under the old Lucasfilm structure with George we would have ever got to this point.
Yeah.
To piggyback off of what Vulc had said, Kathleen Kennedy was in charge of executive producer and creative producer of several like incredibly popular movies before she became the president of LucasArts. Like, so many Spielberg movies, E.T., Jurassic Park movies, like, she doesn't really have creative control over each of the medias that get approved. Like, she's not the one saying, hey, yo, EA, throw in some battle passes and some loot boxes in your Star Wars game, or fucking,
Right.
hey, Bad Batch producers, cut a character from your squad so that we can introduce a kid-friendly, something for the kids to enjoy. Like, Filoni is long known as the protege George Lucas, but he's had some bad fucking ideas. Kathleen Kennedy
Right.
is kind of the exact opposite, where she just came out of kind of nowhere just as some Hollywood producer and has had some good ideas historically. But a lot of people hate her. I'm not a fan of Kathleen Kennedy
Yeah.
as a whole.
I was gonna
but,
say,
like,
don't take this as like us. Well, I guess not us. I don't want to speak
Right.
for us, but me specifically, I guess, like completely defending every decision she's made and everything she's
certainly
done
not.
with the Star Wars
Absolutely
franchise,
not.
because
Oh yeah.
the Star Wars franchise has moved away from where I would have liked to have seen it for quite a while now.
She is an executive producer. She is there to produce art that her stockholders will like. That's why we have 50,000 GIFs of Star Wars characters dancing to popular music at fucking
Star Tours or
whatever
whatever.
amusement park they're
Yeah.
at. Whatever Disney
Right on.
fucking park they're at. Same time, like, she knows what she's doing. She's there to make
Oh.
money. She's not conscripted to make fucking
Splash
as
me in the
art. She's
fucking-
not being hired to a pinnacle of Star Wars exploration into the lore like KOTOR 2.
And I feel like a lot of that
Again,
came
is
with
part of the whole silly capitalism
rebranding
thing.
to make Star Wars, I guess, more mainstream instead of like niche audiences.
Right.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, like, I think Star Wars is arguably the most influential film of all time. Just Star Wars: A New Hope, Star Wars Episode 4, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Like,
That's
it's maybe like Citizen Kane.
that's almost impossible to determine, but yeah,
Oh yeah,
I would
there's
put
no
it.
like actual quantifiable level, but think of every goddamn pop culture
I would put it.
media
I would put it probably
that's
top
at
3.
a Star
Yeah.
Wars episode.
I'd probably put it top 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It hasn't been a niche nerd culture for a very long time.
no, I would say it probably hasn't been niche nerd culture on the level of something like, even like one of the more popular nerdy franchises like Star Trek or Stargate or you know, stuff like that.
Let's say Stargate and Battlestar Galactica. would
Battlestar
be
Galactica,
the
yeah,
niche ones. Like,
yeah,
I love them, and they're really good, and they're popular compared to like Farscape or
Firefly.
shit. Firefly, yeah. Like, you compare like Doctor Who, Star Trek, Star Wars is the big three
Yeah.
sci-fi media.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But yeah, Star Wars is definitely the king, I would say, and it has been for quite a while. Like Star Wars was, it was weird nerdy shit in like the 70s, but I think once the trilogy was out, like the entire trilogy was out, it had already transcended nerdiness and had become like
Exactly.
pop culture. Yeah. Like I don't
There's
think
so few people on this planet compared to any other film franchise or individual film that has not seen a single Star Wars movie.
Yeah. Well, so Star Wars is one of those things, right, where people feel like the cool rebellious, the cool rebel when they go, I've never seen a Star Wars movie, you know,
Right.
something like that, and you're supposed to go,
Never
oh,
seen the Game of Thrones.
oh God, yeah.
Oh.
I had a friend who like took pleasure in saying that, and it's like, yes, we know, Tomas.
Right.
And then we were all
I've
bitching
met
on
a few
social media
people
about
like
how
that who've never seen Star Wars. I guess
yeah.
it just feels more niche in the community I grew up around because even like as a kid I was really into Star Wars, but it was an ostracizing feeling because there was maybe like one or two other kids that were even into it.
Yeah,
But
I definitely feel that.
I guess it's different
being
around where
into
you grow up,
Stargate.
who you grow up around.
I
But
thankfully just adapted all of the hobbies my brother had. When I was 8, he was 16 and hanging out at card shops playing like the Decipher Star Wars card game, the
Nice.
fucking Star Wars D20 game that was out at the time.
Oh,
At the local comic shops, I was like, man, Star Wars is really cool. I guess my brother's doing it.
yeah.
It all devolved from there, and here I am.
Here's some
sitting
money.
with you nerds.
Here's some money. Go see a Star War.
Here's some money. Go see a Star.
I don't think. I think that I don't think I've ever laughed at a sitcom so hard as when at that moment. Here's some money. Go see a Star War. Oh God, that was great. What a great show. Anyways, okay. Well, I mean, this was kind of I guess this was kind of a short thing. I mean, like, I guess there's only so much bitching you can do about like sensationalism and stuff. Like, just how just incredibly wrong the whole like Filoni versus Kennedy narrative is. Like, just how much of a fundamental understanding do you have to have of Lucasfilm as a company, of Disney as a company, right? Because you've got Bob Iger, and then you've got Kathleen Kennedy, and you got Gabe Filoni, and they do different things. Go ahead, Thor. Sorry.
I hate them all just because I know their name. Didn't want to know any of their names to begin with. Like, I prefer to see it, get on with seeing it, and then complain about what I think its influences are later.
I understand that. Yeah.
Nothing you can do about it when they're so big.
What was I gonna say? I guess something else I should point out.
To pander to Vulc for a moment, it's kind of like comparing. It's kind of like comparing pre and post Roddenberry Star Trek. Like, some people fucking hate everything that doesn't involve Roddenberry. Some people hate Voyager, Enterprise.
That's not a half
Space
bad
Nine.
comparison, actually. Yeah.
Right. You can find the bits. Like, I hate Voyager. I hate Enterprise. I fucking love Deep Space Nine. I think it's peak Trek.
And it's all
It's
post.
the best thing ever written, not by Roddenberry.
And it's all post Roddenberry.
Yeah, I think you could do the same thing with Star Wars. Like,
Yeah.
I think The Mandalorian might be one of the best things not written by Lucas. But fucking the sequel movies are terrible.
Yeah.
Bad Batch is shaping up pretty well. Like, you can find your bits and pieces regardless of the original creator. Like, it doesn't have to be made by
Absolutely.
person who made the thing.
And on top of that, I've always resisted the whole, both with Star Trek and, since you bring up Star Trek too, both with Star Trek and Star Wars, I've always resisted the whole, the original creator was a genius and knew everything and would have done everything perfectly. No, they fucking wouldn't have. Gene Roddenberry had horrible ideas. So did George Lucas. Like, George Lucas ruined General Grievous because he didn't like the Genndy Tartakovsky's General Grievous.
Right.
And basically all of the post-prequel Lucas hate that pretty much flooded the internet for basically the entire time.
Well, he's got...
Clone Wars to the end of its run and the Disney acquisition already happened.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, Lucas has flaws. He's bad at writing characters. He's bad at writing dialogue. He's great at writing narratives. He's great at, like, creating universes. But, like, even in the original trilogy,
he doesn't work with actors well.
Even in the original trilogy, the dialogue sucked. Like, Mark Hamill has stories that he tells at every fucking Star Wars celebration where he goes, oh yeah, I had a line that was supposed to go something like, it was really long, and blah 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 blah. We go to Sullust, blah 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 blah. And he says, and every time he says, I had to walk up to George and tell him, George, people don't talk like this. Like, he's got flaws. Like, whatever. Like, don't get me wrong. I love George Lucas and everything he's done.
Absolutely.
But you can't just blindly hero worship him. You know, you've got to
Right.
you've got to understand that he had flaws and he had bad ideas, because everyone does. He's a human.
It's a shame that all of his screenwriting abilities slowly got absorbed into his neck for the past 50 years.
into his gizzard.
Yep.
Oh, come on, we don't make fun of people's appearances on here. But anyways, any last thoughts about Filoni, Kennedy, George Lucas? Any just high up people that have to do with Star Wars? I guess J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson. How much you want to throw him in a Sarlacc pit?
I would say that Filoni is probably the next generation of Star Wars' George Lucas, and that he's going to create wonderful ideas, and he's going to absolutely run them into the grave because he can't keep coming up with them. I
Yeah,
love Dave Filoni. Is widely considered to be George Lucas's apprentice, heavy air quotes.
his Padawan learner.
Captures the same energy. But I don't think he can keep the same thing running for 20 goddamn years like George Lucas almost managed to do.
Not at the rate he's
I would
got
say
to
the
turn
same
out
thing.
content compared to Lucas.
Everyone.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
That's the thing. Disney's
Especially
got to
in
have
the modern era where we're getting fucking
cinematic universes.
4 goddamn series and
Yeah.
5 goddamn movies a year. Like,
Well, that's the thing. Like, when's the franchise fatigue gonna hit? I guess we could ask about that because, granted, like you guys call me normie all you want. I was all on board with the MCU. I loved it. I liked almost every movie in the
Yeah.
MCU. Some of them were objectively bad, like Iron
I
Man
haven't
2.
got into the MCU. I want to take like a nice long time to go through.
It's
all
weird
of
because
the
it starts really good and then it gets pretty bad and then it gets really good again and then
I would say
you stop
I
caring.
agree with that.
Like, because the original Iron Man, the original Captain America, I even liked the original Thor, but not a lot of people did.
I liked OG Thor.
Iron Man
I was
1,
really hyped for
Iron-
Dark World.
Iron Man 1 is like probably one of my top 3 superhero movies of all time. It's so good, such a great film. Iron Man 2 and 3 are probably my top 5 bottom superhero movies of all time. they're dog shit. But anyway, this isn't a Marvel podcast, but anyways, back to my original point. I was super on board with the MCU. Like, even though I had a couple stinkers, like I was super on board with the MCU. I really liked it, really loved it. Was really all on board with the whole, ensemble movies of ensemble movies and things like that. Like, it was really great. I'm over it. I really don't care about any of the new Marvel movies coming out. I don't care about Black Widow. I don't care about fucking Legend of Quan Chi or whatever the fuck it is. Doctor Strange 2 I'll probably see because I really like Doctor Strange. What?
The Legend of Quan Chi. It's the Mortal Kombat villain.
Oh my god, you're right. Oh no.
I tried really hard to save face, but then just suddenly lost it there at the end.
Oh.
It's beautiful.
Well, whatever the fuck his name is. The Kung Fu movie. The Marvel Kung Fu movie. It's something like, maybe it's like Shin-Chi or something, I don't know. Anyways. Yeah, again, I'm over it. Like, the franchise fatigue has gotten to me. We had our climax, we had our Avengers Endgame, and like, I don't care anymore. So, like, when's that gonna happen with Star Wars? Because I've talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people feel the same way
Right. I mean, it's.
about Marvel.
I feel like
Okay,
it's within the next like 5 years. It'll all depend on how this first set of new shows launches, especially now that times are changing and streaming media is becoming bigger in the post-COVID world. So,
Well, here's the thing too. It's like, I don't know. Like the MCU was so methodically and systematically planned out. It was planned like 15 years in advance. Basically, Iron Man did well, and they were like, let's make a cinematic universe. Right? Like, they already had plans to make... They didn't have plans all the way up through, like, Endgame and stuff, but, like, basically, once Iron Man did well, they were like, okay, let's start building a cinematic universe so we can have a big Avengers movie, and it'll be real cool. Right? And then Avengers did it, and then the Avengers, like, fucking gross highest of all time or something.
right.
And they were like, okay, let's keep doing this. And they kept doing it, it worked. Because they were constantly building up towards stuff. But, like, I feel like our end game is going to be Ahsoka versus Grand Admiral Thrawn. Our Avengers end game, anyways, is going to be our Ahsoka versus Grand Admiral Thrawn. And then after that, people are going to burn out. People are going to be sick of Star Wars.
Right. I don't even sound that hyped about the Ahsoka versus Thrawn endgame. That doesn't even sound too thrilling to me.
Yeah, God, I
neither.
hope it isn't that.
I think it is going to be that.
God, give me anything but that.
I think it is going to be that. I
No,
don't particularly like it
Right.
either, but I think it is going to be that. All of the post Jedi stuff seems to be building towards a confrontation between Thrawn and Ahsoka, and possibly Ezra from Rebels. So
Oh yeah, we can get Ezra back
yeah.
in the space whales.
Only thing
space
that could
whales.
be worse than Ahsoka v. Thrawn. Point Ezra in there.
I swear to God, yeah. If they just axed Ezra, Rebels would have been really, really good. Honestly.
Yeah, seriously, he ruins Rebels for me.
Yeah,
Like,
Ezra's
the
like everything
scene-
I hate about Rebels.
Yeah, the scene where
But
Ahsoka and
nah, his
Vader...
lightsaber rocks.
Me-
Come off it.
Yeah,
The gun saber.
The gun
Yeah, I mean,
saber.
it's kick ass.
I didn't like it at all.
scene where Ahsoka and Vader
I mean, it's an
finally
interesting
meet,
design.
and they're dueling,
Well, just because somebody
And
used
they're
logic in the Star Wars
and the
universe, you
shit
didn't
out of
like
each
it.
other.
Why didn't he just hold a
So
blaster
good.
in his other hand? Like, what do you mean they use logic? Like, what if
It was amazing. No, that was such a logical weapon, such a plausible weapon. I thought it was
a
amazing.
gun sword? No.
mean,
Okay.
Ezra
we
didn't
can
really
talk
use
about-
it too great. Kanan made good use of it in the first Inquisitor fight.
We can talk about it
Right.
later, but
How useful it is right up the top.
what would have been better if he had a blaster rifle with a lightsaber bayonet on it. That would have been way better. That would have been way better. But
Don't mean to my own horn.
sorry, Stark. Keep going.
It did have blaster rifles, lightsaber bayonets, and vice versa. My Star Wars D20 campaign ran for a year and a half. I'm just saying. Anyway,
It's a cool idea. I mean, I love saber pikes. I don't know why more.
Right,
I don't
it
know why
makes
more races don't use saber
literal
pikes.
absolute sense.
Well, because okay, so swords take incredible amounts of training and discipline to use, right? Spears don't.
Right.
With a spear, you hold the stick and you go poke, 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 poke. You don't have to have crazy training to use a lightsaber pike. So, like, why the fuck don't they equip like armies with lightsaber pikemen?
Just give everybody a force pike.
Yeah. Well, it's like a force pike except better because it has a lightsaber
Right.
at the end.
Like saber pike. I do like the saber pike, and I feel it's totally underused.
Oh yeah, it's
Oh
great.
yeah, totally.
Those fucking those
I love Ray, the sequels.
with a saber pike. That'd be cool.
Right.
Or like even like a lightsaber partisan. Right? You know what a partisan is? It's like halfway between a sword and a spear. It's basically like a
Oh,
spear,
yeah.
a shorter spear shaft with a sword blade at the end.
I know
Yeah.
what you're talking about.
Yeah. But it's like a short sword blade. It's not like a full size blade. But yeah, they're really cool looking. Totally obscure example, but if you've ever seen the cinematic trailer for Dragon Age 2, that weapon is a partisan that the main character is using. Totally obscure
She
example.
would just skip Dragon Age 2. None of us will mind. Fine. Literally,
It's alright.
nobody will care.
Honestly, with how much I'm loving Mass Effect, I'll probably just play the Mass Effect trilogy.
Good idea.
Thought about getting into. Mass Effect.
I didn't raise my talking point for the
It's really
Bad
good.
Batch. What was everyone's thought of him removing the magnetized landing lock?
Oh, with his muscles?
I
Oh.
thought that was a bit ridiculous. A magnetized landing lock.
I kind
Uh,
of actually, yeah, I kind of thought that too, because it wasn't turned off or anything. It was like literally
Yeah,
magneted on. Yeah.
I agree. Like, why waste all that time trying to hack it and unlock it if he could have just done that the whole time?
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it was sort of
I
like
actually
a
thought
car,
about that.
thing.
It's a good point. Yeah.
Absolutely. I actually thought about that. Then I looked at something that happened in episode 4. It was like, okay, he just must be ludicrously overpowered.
Oh, you can't blast that. That
Somebody
door's
that can
magnetically
lift
sealed.
Ships in episode 3. And then something happens in episode 4. I'm like, okay, well, he's actually just a fucking stupid idiot
Fucking-
who can't achieve a single goddamn thing by themselves. So never mind.
Yeah, I think I know the exact thing you're talking about.
Probably In episode 3, he is
I forgot
picking up
about-
goddamn starships.
I forgot about that scene.
Himself.
Yeah.
Then
he really gets
some
boogalooed, doesn't he?
total of effort in chapter 4.
He really gets boogalooed, doesn't he? I'll just say that.
Gets boogalooed, he does.
Thor, just wait for the moment where Wrecker gets boogalooed. You'll know exactly the scene we're talking about once you see episode 4.
I was disappointed. I was extremely
I was too.
disappointed.
I thought it was gonna be a really cool
Oh my
scene.
God, I can't wait for this goddamn long ass fucking fight. This is gonna be great.
Right.
This
Oh.
is extremely good gunslinger who doesn't have their gun. Who's doing the snake CQC. Yeah, I'm not saying anything.
I think we're getting a little too
specific.
specific here. I don't know.
No, it's
think
like
so.
it's like a dex
Alright.
character
Alright.
versus a strength character.
Oh, dex build versus strength build, yeah. Dude,
Just never happened.
Wrecker's like a classic barbarian build, like all strength, all con, and nothing else. Yeah. Maybe a little bit of charisma for that charm, but
11
Yeah.
charisma instead
yeah,
of
instead of 10, yeah.
Sure. Enough to do anything.
Dude, well, yeah, he's got to have at most like 8 int and 8 wisdom.
Right.
So, and then probably just like average dex. Seeing as how fucking clumsy he is, fucking bonked his head. Oh, so here's
Right.
another. Okay, so not to rehash the Bad Batch again, but you know how in episode 3 Wrecker bonked his head, and throughout the whole episode he was like ah.
Oh yeah,
There's a theory that that's gonna chip in and activate his inhibitor chip, and he's gonna like betray the Bad Batch.
I was
right. I've
thinking
heard
something
theories
like that.
about that.
Do that.
I
think,
I thought about
honestly-
that. Yeah, I thought about that.
Primarily, I think it was just a cute callback to the New Hope scene, to
Could
the
be.
Jango Fett scene,
I was gonna say
to the
all the bonking head scenes in Star Wars.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like I kind of liked actually the thought that he was just okay. This is our guy at this generation, bonking his head on the ceiling on the way out.
Yeah.
But, like I could totally see it. Like
Yeah.
it'd be funny if this was the one time it actually fucking did anything. Be cute.
Yeah. That would
But
be
no,
funny.
that definitely could come up because I believe in the next couple episodes they're going to have to work towards removing the inhibitors. Because I imagine,
Yeah.
couldn't they not just track them through the inhibitor chip?
Maybe. I don't know. I guess it depends on if they've got tracking devices built into them. I don't know though. Like,
Especially with Crosshair doing it.
yeah, because I don't know if that's their intended function though. Because I guess you could have some sort of plot built around it, like because they did something in episode 4 that makes it a lot harder to track them, and
Yeah.
you know, and then all of a sudden, oh, they're tracking us with our inhibitor chips. Oh no, you know, I could totally see that actually. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Sorry to bring it back to Bad Batch again, but yeah, I all the talking points I was thinking of throughout the day when we decided we were going to record today, they're all coming back to me now. You know, it's the alcohol.
I also just got sent a trailer for the Expanded Galaxy project. If anyone wants to see it, I'm going to drop a link in chat.
You got sent one?
Yeah, somebody was making it for me a while back, and they finally got around to it, and there's a link.
Oh, that's cool. Hell yeah.
It's nothing special, but it should help. I'm going to get it uploaded to YouTube later.
I mean, I guess, do I have your express permission to show this on my stream?
Yeah, you do.
So this is the mod that Thor has been working on for quite a long time.
It's mainly for the port.
For the KOTOR port? Okay, let me turn my music off. Hopefully this doesn't blow my eardrums out.
It really doesn't show a lot.
The star forge so valuable. Can its power
It's nicer than anything I've done.
Across the galaxy, the numbers of our order dwindle. Action is required, but we must not do so in haste.
You shall fall.
The Jedi numbers have been ravaged by this war.
Starforge must be found.
The Council has a mission for you, Padawan. Understand that there is little choice in this matter, for you or us.
The lure of the dark side is difficult to resist.
The fate of the galaxy is in your hands, young Padawan. Pray you are up to the challenge. May the Force be with you.
I am the Dark Lord of the Sith.
But yeah, no, I've done like I guess 1.5 playthroughs of Expanded Galaxy. I mean, realistically, it's still very much in early development, but it is still pretty fucking cool to be able to do like KOTOR 2 stuff in KOTOR 1. And
You have no idea how many holes I have left to fix. It's
but yeah, it's an ongoing project, and if you want to help, you could go to Thor's stream, or do you have a Deadly stream link, right? Maybe I should have put that in the YouTube descriptions.
if anyone just wants to, they can Google KOTOR Expanded Galaxy and find it. I mean, come on, people. Everyone in the world can use Google.
But yeah, I've done a couple. Like I said, I've done a couple playthroughs of it. I'm not currently doing it because I'm currently addicted to Mass Effect Legendary Edition. But
Yeah, fair enough. I've needed a little bit of a break from KOTOR myself.
yeah, I got to do it
I'm about to
occasionally.
play through to happen myself, but I got to Dantooine recently and ran into more like unbalanced enemies, so I've just
The
kinda
Mandalorians on Dantooine are unkillable.
They're
they're really fucking they're just impossible. Like, you can kill all the Duros and then just completely mob the Mandalorian, and he'll just like whip out a vibroblade and just 1, 2, 3 your whole party and you're dead.
Right.
I've definitely had to brush up on my like KOTOR mechanics and stuff because of the buggy enemies though, and I feel like it's actually made me a better KOTOR player because of that.
Oh, absolutely. I can agree with that.
Because you can't just run up and like force jump at everything anymore, because you'll just insta die. Not insta die, but it'll be hard.
Mm-hmm. I have to make better use of my resources.
Yeah. So, our lore conversation is very in keeping with what we've already been talking about, but it's clones. Within the various different canons, right, of Star Wars, we have lots of different interpretations of clones, how clones work, where clones are made, who gets cloned, and yeah, just lots of good stuff relating to clones. So I guess like a little bit of background. The first mention of clones in Star Wars is literally in A New Hope. You fought in the Clone Wars, which is just like I'm 100% convinced that was just a throwaway line to sound cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you fought in the Clone Wars, and like, and nothing was ever like explored with that. Like, what the fuck are the Clone Wars? And like, I've heard people who were kids at that time, they would be like, oh man, this whole Clone Wars thing, we had no idea what it is. We'd never seen anything about it. Wasn't in any of the comics or anything, because George basically already had an idea about the Clone Wars and wanted to save that for future movies. So he wouldn't let any of the comic writers, he wouldn't let any of the novel writers or anything in the 80s and 90s. No one could touch the Clone Wars. The Clone Wars were only for George to flesh out. People back then were super duper confused on what the Clone Wars were. And they thought it was like, yeah, some war in the past, in the long past. There was Jedi. Luke's dad, who we didn't know who Luke's dad was at that point because it was just A New Hope. It was Luke's dad and Obi-Wan were young and cool and fighting with lightsabers against clones in wars. Like, it was really vague what it was. A couple works actually broke George Lucas's rule and did explore the Clone Wars a little bit. One of them is this masterpiece right here called Dark Empire, which is backwards on my webcam, but you get the idea.
Right on.
Yeah. Really weird, cringy, late 80s, early 90s Marvel type comic writing. I mean, it wasn't Marvel. I don't think Marvel did Dark Empire. I think it was Dark Horse at that point. But basically, Dark Empire, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in it. But one of the ideas was that Palpatine, now granted this was super retconned, even in the old EU, but Palpatine had basically been sort of like a reincarnating force that kept reincarnating into a clone of himself every time he died. So the idea was that Palpatine in Return of the Jedi was actually just another one of these clones that he had been reincarnating into for numerous life cycles. That's why Palpatine always looked like old and diseased, is because these clones would age super quickly and die. So when Luke and Vader killed Palpatine at the end of Return of the Jedi, it didn't actually matter that much because his ghost would just leave that clone and then reconstitute itself, and a couple of years later it would resurrect itself in another clone back on Palpatine's cloning planet of Biss. Obviously,
I recognize this as everything that everybody complains about Rise of Skywalker, except Vulc likes it somehow.
I don't like that part of it.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Well, so like, Dark Empire is basically the foundation of the old EU. It's basically one of the founding works of it, and it is very cheesy. It is very.
Fair.
It has a lot of weird shit in it that does get retconned later. And there are future versions of Dark Empire that do retcon out some of the wacky shit from the comic. Like, I don't think the novel has anything about Palpatine constantly reincarnating every 100 years or something.
It's not.
So,
Thing.
because that's just, like, was completely inconsistent. But anyways, the important thing about Dark Empire was that it was the first time they explored clones. It was the first time they explored the use of clones in Star Wars, because there was nothing about clones in the original trilogy. I don't think there was anything about clones in the Marvel comics and stuff. You never really see anything about clones. You just have this random throwaway term, the Clone Wars, of something that happened sometime before the original trilogy. Now, the Thrawn trilogy also expanded on clones, and Timothy Zahn basically had this idea that, like, clones were like the Clone Wars were this weird sort of like Jedi and the Old Republic together against an army of clones that was trying to like wipe out like galactic civilization. That was the idea. And Thrawn was trying to reactivate these cloning centers to make his own clone army to reconquer the Empire. That was part of it. That's not the entire Thrawn trilogy. There's a lot more to it than that. But that was basically it. So like there was these really weird like just stories about clones, and like it really made the Clone Wars seem like this weird sort of like, yeah, like the Old Republic, which would eventually become the Empire after betraying the Jedi, fought against clones in the Clone Wars. And it's like, I mean, that sounds crazy now, obviously. But back then, that was all people had to go on. So, enter the prequel era. We all of a sudden get George's idea of what the Clone Wars were. You know, but the actual canon idea of what the Clone Wars were. Which, does anyone else want to talk about, like, early EU clones, or at least Clone Wars era clones?
So, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that one of the most popular early fan theories among Star Wars fans back in the late 70s was that Obi-Wan himself was a clone. Thought was Obi-Wan was a code for O-E-1.
Oh my god.
He was some sort of strange clone. And clearly this was untrue, but this is what, you know, people in the late 70s had to think about meta of Star Wars at the time.
I was like that was the Darth Jar Jar. That was the Darth Jar Jar theory at the time.
Right. People thought, you know, okay, you fought in the Clone Wars. Maybe they had clone Jedi. Maybe there were just millions of clone Jedi fighting whatever the issue was at the time. If they had named Obi-Wan literally anything else, this theory would not have held any water whatsoever. Like, it was seriously incredibly important to, like, the people doing this exactly that we're doing at the time. It had the ability to have podcasts with 4 split screen Discord. I've been like, okay, so what about the theory where Obi-Wan is a clone? You know, like, this would have been their function. This would have been the thing they discussed at the time.
That sounds very familiar.
Obviously untrue. I think there were like 2 books written on the assumption that it could have been possible. I can't remember either one of them, so they probably weren't very good. Than that, like early versions of the Clone Wars, like again, like Vulc said, I think was just a pure concept because George Lucas had always assumed the starting point was somewhere between 3 and 5. Clone Wars could have been 1 and 2, could have been 2. Nobody's like entirely sure.
Yeah.
And that is pure conjecture. Like, they actually made the movies.
I guess so. Like, so what are some differences then between the old EU clones and the new EU clones? I mean, we've got the obvious things, right? We've got the fact that new EU clones have inhibitor chips, which force them to follow orders, which force them to automatically change their behaviors for from weird stimuli and stuff like that. In the old EU, things like Order 66 was not a code word to say kill all the Jedi. Order 66 was just a contingency plan. It was basically like what if the Jedi were to turn on the Order, what would we do?
Right.
There was also in the old EU there was also Order 65, which was the Chancellor has betrayed the Republic, arrest him at all costs. That's a thing, I think, in the old EU. But there was also
were a variety of these contingencies, and it seems like every time I stream a Star Wars game, somebody comes into my chat saying, "Well, what do you know about Order 62 and 5/12. Oh yeah, this is the one where they had to quarter troops on this planet.
Yeah.
And it honestly shocks me every now and then because like I kind of consider myself an architect of like Star Wars knowledge. I know this is going towards Vatred, who knows a lot more about the subject than I do. It's kind of shocking when somebody comes in like, oh, what about Order 62? About Order 54? What do you know about Order 48?
Oh yeah, I've been there. But yeah, in terms of new EU clones, there are a few things, some of which sound a little contradictory. Like they have the inhibitor chip, they're highly programmed, but at the same time, you see in TCW, they're even like regular clones are highly individualistic. And in instances like Rex, you see them be able to shake their own programming. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that while trying to keep up with this narrative that they're programmed and when the switch is flipped, the switch is flipped. But the new EU kind of skirts around that by saying, well, certain clones that served under certain Jedi were more encouraged to be individuals, like the Plo Koon arc in TCW or any of Anakin's clones, when compared to somebody like Obi-Wan, who wasn't really personally involved with any of his clones. And of course, you see in Revenge of the Sith, they immediately just shoot him. There's no like thought process in between. I don't know. I think a little bit of it's kind of quirky, but also had to be done at the same time if you're going to take all of these clones who are genetically one and the same and try to make them into characters.
Yeah. Also, hopefully Stark will be back in a second. Okay, I think we're good. Yeah.
I kind of finished up what I was going to say in terms of EU clones and I guess the amount of individual they have compared to the amount of control they should have over the Empire would have over them with the inhibitor chips and everything. And sometimes it feels contradictory, but really was a necessary evil in terms of developing them as characters, because there's really no perfect way to do that.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and I feel like that's a reason they shied away from developing clones as characters so much in the old EU.
Right.
Because they basically had this dilemma of, well, how do we make a character out of a clone? How do we make a character out of a carbon copy of Jango Fett that is literally genetically designed to not have the individualism of Jango Fett? Like, literally designed to be calculating, robotic, and following orders to a T, you know? And that's why the whole contingency order of Order 66, or I guess Order 66 being a contingency order and not a code word to trigger a basically mind control chip.
Yeah, put all sleeper cells.
Right. Yeah. The reason that worked in the old EU is because that the clones were a lot less personable. They were a lot less individual, and they were a lot more just willing to follow all orders. And if somebody says activate Order 66, then they'll activate Order 66, not because they're mind controlled to, but because they're designed to follow orders from their inception.
Right. It's kind of the line that's drawn between the Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars and the modern Clone Wars, that they're both personified in different ways. Like in the OG Clone Wars, they're personified with no language. You know, they just have different loadouts. The way Captain Fordo looks at everybody else, that everybody just knows immediately what Fordo is handing them just by his gaze through a helmet. Then you compare that to the D. Bradley Baker clones, who have personalities. You have Heavy, Echo, Tech, everybody.
Got different hairstyles,
a little bit
tattoos,
of a different clone. You know, they have the different paint, the different war methods. Like, they both do really good jobs individualizing the clones in different ways, and I do really respect both methods. I do think that the Genndy Tartakovsky way is written with the original canon in mind, where it's for your organic droids for the war.
Right.
And then they couldn't really do that for a child-friendly TVY7 series. It's like, okay, well, here's the characters you're going to learn to love over the next 5 years. We're going to kill them. Try.
Yeah.
Buy the action figure.
By the action figure, yeah.
A little bit different.
Yeah, like, yeah. Thinking of Gendy Tartakovsky Clone Wars, like it definitely built characters out of like the ARC Troopers. Yeah, like Captain Fordo and the ARC Troopers. But it did in such a different way. Like it turned them into like sort of just badass like killer machines that are completely silent.
Exactly.
Yeah. Silent, efficient,
like
to the
Ghost
point.
Recon style, sort of.
Yeah.
Perfect. Everything you know is murdering somebody.
And I think there's definitely
and signals to directed
Right.
fire. Like
there's definitely a stylistic choice in the O3 Clone Wars to never show Jango Fett's face. You see so many Jango Fetts, but you never see his face. I think it's really meant to show like the uniformity of all those clones. Whereas, you know, 08 Clone Wars, they take their helmets off all the time. You see their faces all the time. They're constantly talking. They're constantly interacting with one another, like joking with each other, you know, punching each other in the shoulder and stuff. And yeah, you know, they've got different hairstyles. They've got tattoos. Some of them have goatees and shit. Like, there's all kinds of different variations in them, which makes it feel like a lot more like a real army. It's just a little bit different because, you know, yeah, they all have the same face and the same voice.
Yeah.
So like,
no, I talked about this during the last episode. Just a quick aside, where tattoos are extremely important to the
Maori
people.
The Maori
that,
people, yeah.
That Mira Morrison is a member of, and that the clones are supposed to be modeled of.
Yep.
And then in the Bad Batch, they're deviate from that. They very much lighten skin tones. They make them kind of copied off of other ones.
That's weird
like,
because
especially for a army that is like preferable genealogical mutations, or literally all of them except for the guy that's modeled after the Hulk, he significantly paler. A lot of people, I am not actually knowledgeable about this topic, but a lot of people on Twitter are upset about that.
Yeah,
Like-
I've seen that too.
interesting.
They all look
I
different than Tamir Morrison. Hunter was the only one that had any sort of Maori tattoos. Like, there is a subsect of people that are kind of upset about that. Paler, glower,
yeah.
and they're deemed superior and
Oh, okay.
better genetically.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And the one person that has the actual phenotype and characteristics is Wrecker.
Who's the
kind of the
dumb one? Yeah.
brute, savage member of the team. Like, not to bring this to a racial or politically charged point, but
Right.
it's something that people are upset about on like internet.
Well, it's weird that you mentioned that because I didn't notice that with the Bad Batch members. Honestly, I think Hunter, to me, he seemed still like tannish brown skinned. But I mean, that's just me. I mean, like my experience is not gonna be the same as anyone else's, but. I didn't personally notice that with the Bad Batch. What I did notice that with was young Kanan.
Yeah, young Kanan was kind of weird.
He looked like a total gringo. He looked like a total gringo. Whereas in like
Kind of hated that entire arc, honestly.
in
Entire
Rebels,
sequence.
in Rebels, he because he sounded like fucking Freddie Prinze Jr. sounding about 45 years old. Like, yeah, he's trying to be like a fucking 15-year-old kid being like,
Right.
"Oh no, master," you know, like. But yeah, young Kanan to me, he looked. Not only was his skin a lot lighter, but his hair was a lot like redder.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
noticed that.
He had like red hair and lighter skin than he did in Rebels. Because in Rebels he had pretty dark skin. He was pretty tan. He was pretty tan. He had like kind of just brown hair. And then young Kanan in this was lighter skin with red hair. And I mean sure, you know, I guess you could chalk that up to aging. I don't know. People do change color as they get older.
Right.
Some people get lighter, some people get darker. It is a thing, but it stood out to me a lot, which is yeah. I don't know. I don't think
I can't say I loved that sequence. My primary hatred of it derives from the fact that it was a 12 to 15-year-old, the voice of goddamn James Earl Jones in the first fucking episode of your flagship new animated series. Like,
he's like, "Oh no, master." Yeah.
People Llama is dead.
Yeah.
Oh no. Like,
It's like, I get it. You
Kill
want
me.
us to you want us to know it's Kanan, but like
right.
do some like goddamn download Audacity, do some shit to his voice. Like
Right.
do some more shit to his voice, I guess. That's weird though. I haven't heard the thing about the Bad Batch, to be fair, and I don't really spend that much time around like Twitter
Yeah.
or any of that. Like
I'm
not-
sure it's like
I'm not
a-
a social media fan.
A minority thing, but
I can say I don't see it. I don't see it being racially charged. I don't see it being any kind of weird statement like that.
right. I guess really what people are pissed about is that, like, look at Tech. Tell me that he's modeled after Tamir Morrison.
Right. Well, you can say that, but you can say that about all of them, really.
Yeah.
Honestly,
They do have, like,
I think the one that most
bears and
resembles.
vids where it's like, here's where they shrunk his nose, here's where they lengthened his nose, here's where they paled their skin tone. Like, not somebody about it, but are people upset about it?
Yeah. I don't know. That's interesting. Maybe I'll look into that a little bit more. That's interesting to think about. Okay, so I guess there's one more thing we could talk about with clones that I thought about. So again, it's going to be another difference between old EU and new EU, but it's going to be the difference in how the clones were treated in the old EU versus the new EU post 66. So how the clones are integrated into the Empire, into the Stormtrooper Corps. In old canon, which I mean, you still have clones serving in the Stormtrooper Corps in old canon during the original trilogy. I mean, they're getting old at this point. You know, they're getting old and dying out, but they still do serve. And then you get on the flip side, you get new canon where apparently they're cycling out the clones 10 minutes after Revenge of the Sith. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Is there anything I'm overlooking or?
I don't know. I guess the Bad Batch, what remains to be seen of the first season and in the future will kind of dictate, I guess, where the new canon goes with how the clones were treated, because there's not too much media that really goes over that right now in any of the other new canon stuff I've read personally. I would assume that they're going to occupy most of the Imperial military force until that next generation of conscripted soldiers are trained. And I guess in terms of where they're going to borrow from the EU, I definitely think they're going to use the older clones to help train this next generation of soldiers. You can obviously either use Crosshair to do that now with Tarkin's new initiatives, but I still feel like it's something that's going to take years to achieve. But I do think that in the new canon, they're going to establish that, you know, hard line between the last clone and the full conscripted army a lot sooner than it was established in EU. I don't think we'll have any stormtroopers still, or any clone troopers still serving by A New Hope in the new canon.
Yeah. Because I mean, like, like, so in the old canon, the sources for that is what? It's Battlefront 2 campaign.
Yep.
Is that it? There might be a book or two. That might actually
There
be
might
it.
be.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's one of those ends of the old EU I never really touched either because there was so much stuff there, and I only got to touch a few things and really grasp it until the new canon started, and I kind of thought, well, I better jump on this so at least I could stay up, and I'm not like,
Yeah.
another 15 years down the road being like, oh, holy
You're talking
fuck,
about
shit.
post ROTJ troopers?
Yeah.
No, not
Yeah.
not
Not
ROTJ.
returning to that.
No, post Revenge of the Sith. ROTS.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the Imperial era, you had the Shadow Academy, where I guess that was post Imperial, honestly, where Sin and Jaina and Zek were taken. Luke's Academy, they were still training stormtroopers based on clone templates, where they were intending on cloning the Emperor.
Oh, okay.
To take over everything, and Zach was supposed to be like his apprentice.
Right.
That's why he was the one that left.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Jason Jaina escaped back to Yavin. He stayed behind. They
Right.
eventually took it down.
That was the rationalization for Palpatine having non Jango Fett clones in Dark Empire, is that they started immediately post Clone Wars. This is EU. This is like super deep baked EU stuff.
Super EU.
But they made it so that like the Imperial Army would, as the Jango Fett genetic material started to deteriorate and they couldn't clone as much from it anymore, they started using other templates, and then some of the more deemed genetically superior templates were used to make Palpatine's clone bodies that were eventually going to be used by him in Dark Empire. Yeah.
And then during the post ROTJ era, Luke's Academy was missing several of the students who get captured by the Sith at the time, including Jason and Jaina, were Han and Leia's kids. Anakin and Tenel Ka were still fine at the temple at the time, but they sent Tenel Ka to go investigate. Zach had been captured. Was like this random slummy boy. They ended up being super duper powerful in the Sith, and everybody except for Zek came back. And Zek ended up being like the archetype for the Sith from then on. Until the end of that arc. That was when they cloned Palpatine. They were like, okay, well, Zek, you're going to be the Vader from now on. We get this Palpatine waiting in this little sky hook over Coruscant. Cloning him, you're going to be Vader now.
Yeah.
Kick some ass, go kill these kids you grew up with. Times.
Yeah, just like old times. Well, I don't know. Any last thoughts on clones? What about the elite teams? What about the Republic Commandos, the ARC Troopers, the Bad Batch? God, we've talked about Bad Batch so much this episode. Hopefully we won't talk about Bad Batch so much in future episodes, because we should be doing this weekly now. So
Right.
we won't have to
We'll
cover...
only have one episode at a time.
Yeah, we won't have to cover
Right.
3 episodes. 3.5 episodes, I guess. So, yeah. Yeah, well, I don't know. There were ARC Troopers in new canon, right?
Arc Troopers? Or Dark Troopers?
ARC.
Yeah,
A-R-C.
there
totally.
were arcs, but it was something you could get promoted to, and not a genetically different clone trooper.
Oh, right.
Exactly.
Fives.
As in
yeah.
TCW, Fives and Echo get promoted up to ARC troopers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
After successful missions and such.
Yeah.
I think it was after Umbara the Echo was supposed to move up, and then the Citadel fucked his chances in that
Yeah.
Right.
little season Bad Batch.
Right.
Season 7.
But honestly, that Citadel arc I thought was another one of the really good ones that
Oh, yeah.
kind of showed two
Yeah.
different sides on how like clones were treated compared to like Tarkin and how
Right,
Anakin
right.
were, and then you see a lot of connections between you
Yeah,
know,
he's just a
Anakin
clone.
and Tarkin's thoughts towards
who
you know,
cares if they
combat
do-
and what needs to be done in war.
Right. It's like he's just a clone. Who cares if they do experiments on him?
Mhm.
You know.
I'm one of the Chancellor's highest friends. Oh, really?
I'm quite high
So
up
am
in the myself.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that so weird? Wow. Did you really love that scene, though? It's really good.
I will say the whole interactions between Anakin and Tarkin in Clone Wars felt a little fan servicey to me.
Yeah,
Because it's just like,
Yeah.
because it's just like, okay, you're supposed to nerdgasm that. Yeah, it's like Vader and Tarkin 20 years ago, quipping, right? Just like they would in A New
Same
Hope.
time, though.
Yeah,
Wasn't, like, overt. Wasn't crazy.
yeah. It wasn't.
was
I mean, it
kinda
wasn't.
like-
it wasn't blatant fan service. That's what I'm saying. It felt
Just
a little,
bit of a nudge
felt
in the
a
middle of
little-
an episode. Like,
little fan servicey. Yeah. I don't know. Well, we're pushing about 2 hours of content here, I think. So
yep.
I'd say let's bring this to a close. Does anyone have? So I guess we'll open this up to you, chat. Anyone got any questions or wondering anything about anything we talked about, or just anything Star Wars related at all? Between the four of us, I'm sure we could answer any question related to Star Wars with a reasonable amount of accuracy, or possibly
can you
just
tell me the exact position in which Palpatine's clone fucked to create Rey? No. We can.
I feel like Palpatine would have been a missionary man, honestly.
nah. If he would have, you've been a jackhammerer though.
I feel like nobody wanted us to get into this into the centers of
Guys,
it.
it's been a great stream. I would love to stop talking about this right now. So, click the follow button to never.